there was something that for years was hanging over the back of my mind. And that was when I started my business, I did it under me and my wife's name. I had no corporate credit. I underwrote everything personally. And I knew while I was doing that, I was leaving myself exposed, sort of like undoing the whole purpose of an LLC to begin with, a limited liability corporation. And I was just opening the back door. And I knew I was, but I did not believe that I had any other choices, right? Well, then I get to a place now where I've got plenty of credit to get all the credit lines I want to get and all that other kind of stuff personally, but I still had this thing hanging over my head. And then you called me that day and you go, hey, I want to run a business idea by you. I'm thinking about getting into this. So I want to throw it back to you right there. What grabbed your eye about the business? And it was kind of funny for me because I kind of, I'm the guy that's in finance. I kind of felt like I should have been the guy that had an answer for this, but I didn't. I didn't know what to do. And then you call me, run this business idea by me. And I remember our conversation. I said, not only do I think you should get involved in it, I need to be your first client. Remember that?
Absolutely.
So kind of run me through that genesis of what you brought to it and or what brought you to this business. And then, how we got here where we're now I'm a partial owner, a minority owner in BiZABLE because I believe in you and I believe in the business, but kind of give us the blow by blow of how we got here.
Well, it was really by accident, as most fortuitous things in our lives kind of come and go. And for this, I was in the mortgage business for years. I did a few of your home loans.
Yep.
And I was in the mortgage business for a better part of my adult life, over almost 20 years. And I got to the point where, the interest rate skyrocketed in a very short amount of time here a couple of years ago. And I was like, oh boy, I better not put all my eggs in one basket. Application accounts were starting to dip. I was like, and I was looking for something else out there. Well, I kind of discovered this company that was doing something similar to this on accident. And I just became a contract employee for them. I was selling. I didn't really even know what I was selling really. Mm-hmm. But as I got into it, I started learning about these things. I started hearing things like business credit reports, business credit scores, paydex scores, and different things like that. And I had no idea that any of this stuff even existed, but I was not a business owner. So right. I wasn't a business owner. So I was like, well, I'm not a business owner. So why, of course I haven't heard about a business credit score or business credit bureaus or anything like that. Well, as I started to talk to business owners and started to disseminate some of this information, I found out really early on that they didn't know what I was talking about either. And I thought that was very interesting. I just thought, wow, there's something here. This is like an underserved, undervalued segment of business that isn't talked about. And if you look online and you try to find information about, if I'm a business owner, I want to build business credit, and I just type in Google, you're just going to get spammed with a bunch of people trying to give you predatory lending options and different things like that. There's very little resources. There's very little information. And then on top of that, 9 out of 10 business owners I talk to don't even know that their business has a credit score. So I was like, okay, there's something there.
Yeah.
There's something here. This is a space. There's a space. There's a void that needs to be filled. That business owners are on one side, and where they need to be, where they want to be, where they always pictured they could be is on this side, and they don't know how to get there.
Yeah.
And that's what BiZABLE does.
Yeah.
We actually hold the hand of the business owner and take them from where they are, no credit, very low credit score, no recommended business credit limit, and take them to where they are, to where they want to be. A robust business credit profile built around their business, not guaranteed by them personally, with a high credit score, 90 plus, with a high recommended credit limit that their business can now tap into when they need it. Because we know that it's not about if rainy days are going to come.
Right.
It's all only about when. And so, and it's the businesses that can weather those storms, that are in position to weather those storms, the ones that are successful and the ones that make it. And the ones like that, they fall off and they go bankrupt. And all the sad things that we know about small businesses. And
but it's and the credit side of it is great. And I don't think people understand, like, first of all, BiZABLE doesn't cost much. I was kind of surprised. I thought it'd be a bigger spend. And then when you look at the credit it's developing over the period of time it's developing, and then you start looking at the lending platform they've got, and then you start comping that to other banks and other lines of credit, which I've done.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. I sat there and looked at it. Now, for everybody, it's going to be different, but I sat there and I went, okay, based on the revolver that I want, like just that, just as a security blanket, I don't need any credit for my business, but just the revolver as I want. I looked at the delta between the two interest rates, and I'd have to go back and look at my notes, but I think that I was going to recover my cost of BiZABLE like in the first 14 months or something like that,
Mm-hmm.
in terms of the interest saved. Okay.
Sure.
So the lending side of it was incredibly attractive. And then on top of it, they're throwing you in front of like a marketplace of companies that deal with business loans, right? So they understand it. They get it. They're all speaking the same language. They give you, but it's also the liability, right? And
Mm-hmm.
truthfully, in my business, I have a pretty capital light business. So I don't, rainy days happen,
Mm-hmm.
COVID. But I don't have, I'm like a construction guy that all of a sudden could need $1.5 million and doesn't have it.
Mm-hmm.
So for me, the liability side was the biggest. And I don't think people have a good enough understanding that the entire purpose of a corporation was to shield the private entity from the risk of the corporation. Meaning if something bad happens at work, a forklift falls on somebody,
Mm-hmm.
they can't take the owner of the business's home, right? But if that owner is personally underwriting everything, he may have the LLC, but it doesn't really matter because the LLC is not the one carrying the risk. It's him.
Correct.
And that to me is I know I've got clients where I'm sitting there going, they've got multi-million-dollar businesses and they're still financing off their name just like I was. And that to me is like the part where I'm going, okay, this is so ridiculously worth the price, in my opinion, right?
Sure.
To protect this multi-million-dollar asset that you've built. You've got a successful business. And I just don't think enough people realize they've left the back door unlocked.
Yeah. I talk to business owners every single day, and I run into the situations more often than not, exactly what you're talking about. You have the plumbing company or the construction company. They, for all intents and purposes, are very successful businesses, open 5-10 years. But when I show them their credit report, which they normally have never even seen, they didn't even know that their business had a credit score. I show it to them. It's super low, and their recommended credit limit's like $2,000. And they're like, how is that possible? How is that possible? I have $100,000 credit card that I've been utilizing that I use every single month. The problem is that's not being reported, but you never would have even known that if I hadn't come along and told you that. And that's why you can't get out of the personal guarantee phase and into the business funding and loan phase. And that most business owners fall into that category. Think of business funding as needing 4 legs to a table, and you need income, you need assets, you need good personal credit, and you need good business credit. That's what you need in order to get the cream of the crop, best funding options out there for a business. Most business owners aren't even walking around with good 3 legs. Most of them are just have 2 legs, and let alone 4. And so BiZABLE basically exists to take the business owner, tell them where they're at, and then show them where they could be. And then we show them and hold them their hand on how to get there the quickest, most efficient way possible.
Yeah. I was talking to another friend of mine that's in the commercial real estate business, and we were going through some particulars about his business. And it really blew my mind because I sat there and I went, okay, I thought I needed this, because there's some, and we could go into it for 4 hours, so we won't get into it, but there's some nuances and some intricacies in the commercial real estate and business that effectively can like leverage or enhance that whole dynamic. Meaning, if they set it up correctly, it can greatly benefit them or greatly hurt them.
Right.
And I looked at him and I was like, okay, listen, you need to get business credit. Like you like, it's crazy that you're dealing in these 3, 4, 5, $6 million properties and you're not paying a minuscule rounding error fraction of that amount to get the protection, which would essentially, in his case, now this isn't true for everybody, but if he did it this way, it completely got rid of all of his risk. So even if the LLC failed, he'd have no risk if he did it that way. And anyway, it is something that I know for a fact the average person is completely unaware of, because and I've got a finance degree. You know what I mean? And I run it a bit like, so if I don't know, I know a lot of other people don't. I like I said, I knew there was this liability. I just didn't know there was an answer. You know what I mean?
Right.
And it was funny when you called. I had been going back and forth with a local bank for 8 months. They wanted to come in. I just didn't have time. I didn't have time to go sit with them. They wanted to run me through this and that. And then I'm sitting down with you and going, that's it. That's so much easier and so much more convenient. And these guys were really good too. No knock on them.
Sure.
But it was just so much easier. And then I love the aspect of, and I don't know if this is exactly how it works, but at least that was the way it was that I perceived it, which was, it's kind of like you go from trying to get a loan to, once you establish that credit line on that platform, it's almost like they're competing to give you one.
100%. That's how the platform works. That's how it's designed. BiZABLE, our program is 12 months. Our goal is to get a business owner from step one. We take them through a 7-step process to get them from step one. They have little to no credit and a very little, if any, profile at all built, to a robust business credit profile, high credit score, high credit limit. At the end of the 12 months, our goal is if we did our job correctly, you are now graduated past us. We gave you all the tips, all the tricks, all the curtain. We basically pulled back the curtain behind this whole thing and the shroud of mystery that is business credit. We give you all the tools that you can possibly handle. And then after the end of 12 months, we did our jobs correctly. You have now graduated past us. Now you're armed with those tools. Do you stop building business credit at that point? Of course not. You're going to keep growing. But now we gave you all the tools and now you know what to do, know where to go. And now you can really run your business the way you always pictured that you could when you first started your business. Without the liability, your business is running on its own 2 feet. It's got a high credit score. It's got a high credit limit. It's running on its own merits and not without the merits of you, the business owner, and your personal credit score and your social security number.
Yeah. And that way, if the unthinkable happens, which none of us want to think about, especially if we built a successful business, is if the unthinkable happens, you may lose your business, but you're not going to lose both, right? It's not going to wipe you out personally.
Right.
And that's the part of it. I mean, it's all great. The lending side of it is outstanding, but that liability part, I just look at everybody and I go, hey, the lending's a bonus. Okay. Like I think it's ridiculously cheap if all it does is just close that liability loop.
Sure.
To me, the lending side is just a bonus, but no, it's something that I think that, I mean, there's probably percentages out there. My guess is it's probably 90% LLCs probably need something like this, maybe more.
Right. And there's no real downside.
Right.
I mean, there's no real downside. I mean, you're building another credit platform, basically another, most people have their personal credit built up to a certain point. I mean, this is just another avenue to build credit and basically double your leverage potential without the liability, without the cost. Business loans, if you build it up to a certain point, you talked about the interest rates. There's more favorable terms, longer terms, more favorable terms, different things like that. So that's all great. You know, what is this? It's all a game. Yeah. It is. It's personal credit is a game. Business credit is a game. It's a serious game. Most people just don't even know the rules of the game. But once they do, they can turn it on its head, use it to their advantage, and really, really transform their life and their business the way they always pictured that they could.